Los Angeles. The absence of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce at the 2026 Grammy Awards has become one of the most talked about moments of the night, despite neither of them setting foot inside the venue. As the ceremony unfolded, audiences quickly noticed that Swift, a perennial Grammy fixture, was nowhere to be seen, nor was Kelce, who in recent years has frequently appeared by her side at major public events. From the opening moments of the broadcast, cameras swept across the front rows typically occupied by the world's biggest music stars. Swift's seat remained conspicuously empty. Within minutes, social media platforms surged with speculation, pushing search terms such as Taylor Swift Grammy 2026, Why Taylor Swift Skipped the Grammys, and Travis Kelce Absent Grammy Awards to the top of global trends. Taylor Swift's relationship with the Grammy Awards is deeply rooted in modern music history. She is one of the most awarded artists in the ceremony's history and has long been considered a centerpiece of the event, whether as a nominee, a winner, or simply an audience presence that commands attention. Her absence in 2026 therefore stood out as highly unusual, particularly at a time when her cultural influence remains immense. Industry sources cited by U.S. entertainment media indicate that the decision for Swift and Kelce not to attend was neither sudden nor accidental. According to individuals familiar with the matter, the choice had been discussed and finalized well in advance of the ceremony. There were no reported health issues, scheduling emergencies, or last-minute conflicts behind the move. In 2026, Swift is reportedly entering a more private and focused creative phase. After years of record-breaking tours, high-profile public appearances, and constant media exposure, she is said to be prioritizing long-term artistic development over ceremonial visibility. While the Grammy Awards remain one of the most prestigious events in the music industry, sources suggest that attending was not aligned with her current personal and professional priorities. Travis Kelce, meanwhile, is navigating a critical period in his own career as a National Football League star. With the physical and mental demands of elite-level competition, Kelce is believed to be carefully managing his public commitments. His absence from the Grammys is understood to be consistent with a broader effort to maintain balance amid mounting professional pressures. As the ceremony progressed, discussion around Swift and Kelce's absence shifted from curiosity to interpretation. Cultural analysts noted that the silence surrounding their decision, no official statement, no public explanation, carried its own significance. Rather than signaling conflict or controversy, the move was widely interpreted as a quiet assertion of autonomy. Midway through the broadcast, commentary across entertainment outlets increasingly framed Swift's absence as symbolic. Some observers described it as a subtle indication that she no longer depends on award show validation to maintain relevance or authority within the industry. Even without appearing on the Grammy stage, Swift remained central to the night's narrative. Behind the scenes, sources close to the couple suggest that personal well-being played a decisive role. After extended periods under intense public scrutiny, Swift and Kelce are said to be deliberately protecting their private time and emotional stability. The Grammy Awards, with their global spotlight and heightened expectations, were reportedly viewed as an event better skipped than endured under pressure. Notably, there is no evidence of tension between Swift and the Recording Academy. No signs of protest, boycott, or institutional dispute have emerged. On the contrary, those familiar with the situation emphasize that the decision reflects personal boundaries rather than industry friction. In the aftermath of the ceremony, analytics data revealed a sharp spike in online searches and media coverage related to Swift's absence. Rather than diminishing her presence, the decision appeared to amplify public interest. News outlets, commentators, and fans alike continued to debate the implications well into the following day. Ultimately, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's absence from the 2026 Grammy Awards is being interpreted less as a withdrawal and more as a recalibration. In an era where visibility is often equated with relevance, their choice suggests a different equation, one in which influence persists even without physical presence, and where silence can speak louder than applause. The reaction from the music industry itself has been notably restrained. Major labels, fellow artists, and Grammy organizers have avoided direct commentary, a silence that has only added another layer of intrigue. Traditionally, the presence or absence of an artist of Swift's stature would prompt official clarification. This time, there was none. That absence of explanation became, in itself, part of the story, reinforcing the perception that the decision was intentional and carefully managed. Several industry insiders have pointed out that Swift's relationship with award shows has evolved over the years. Early in her career, ceremonies like the Grammys represented milestones of validation and breakthrough. In recent years, however, Swift has increasingly been viewed as an institution rather than a contender. Her releases generate cultural moments regardless of trophies, and her business decisions often reshape industry standards. From that perspective, attending the Grammys has shifted from necessity to option. Observers also note that the timing of the absence is significant, with speculation mounting about future projects, ranging from new music to potential ventures beyond recording. Swift's decision to stay away from the spotlight has been interpreted as strategic positioning. By stepping back during a moment when attention was guaranteed, she redirected focus toward anticipation rather than consumption. The narrative moved from "what will she wear?" to "what is she planning next?" The public's response reflects this shift. Fan communities quickly reframed the absence not as a disappointment but as a sign of confidence. Online discussions emphasized that Swift no longer needs to prove anything on an award stage. For many supporters, the move reinforced her image as an artist operating on her own terms, immune to the traditional pressures of industry cycles. Travis Kelce's role in the story has followed a similar trajectory. As a high-profile athlete with expanding media presence, Kelce has become accustomed to cross-industry attention. His absence alongside Swift was widely read as solidarity rather than coincidence. Analysts suggest that the couple's unified decision underscores a shared approach to fame: selective visibility, controlled narratives, and deliberate disengagement from unnecessary exposure. This approach aligns with a broader trend among top-tier public figures who are increasingly redefining how and when they appear. In an era of constant digital access and relentless coverage, absence has become a powerful tool. For Swift and Kelce, skipping the Grammys may have served as a reminder that influence does not require constant attendance, and that mystery can still command attention in a saturated media landscape. Economically, the impact of their absence was paradoxical. While the broadcast proceeded without them, post-event coverage consistently returned to their non-appearance. Headlines, analysis pieces, and opinion columns repeatedly referenced Swift as a central figure of the night, despite her physical absence. From a metric standpoint, her name remained among the most searched and discussed topics related to the ceremony. Media scholars have described this phenomenon as a case study in modern celebrity dynamics. Traditionally, awards shows functioned as platforms where visibility was granted. Now, for figures like Swift, visibility is something they grant to events. The Grammys did not elevate her profile. Rather, her absence elevated the conversation around the Grammys. As days passed without an official statement, the narrative stabilized. What began as speculation gradually settled into consensus. There was no hidden scandal, no behind-the-scenes dispute, and no dramatic fallout. Instead, the story resolved into one about boundaries, timing, and control. In a media environment often driven by conflict, the lack of controversy became its own conclusion. Looking ahead, industry watchers believe the decision may influence how other artists approach award shows. If one of the most successful musicians of the era can opt out without consequence, it challenges long-standing assumptions about participation and prestige. The move may encourage a reevaluation of what these ceremonies represent to artists who have already reached a certain level of autonomy. For now, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce remain publicly silent, allowing the story to exist without direct confirmation or denial. That silence has proven effective. Rather than closing the conversation, it has sustained interest, reinforcing the sense that their absence was not an ending, but a pause. In the broader context of entertainment news in 2026, the story stands out not for what happened on stage, but for what did not. No appearance, no speech, no photograph. Yet few moments from the Grammy Awards have generated as much sustained attention. It is a reminder that in contemporary culture, presence is only one form of power, and sometimes, choosing not to appear is the most resonant statement of all. the significance of that pause continues to ripple outward. In the weeks following the ceremony, discussions around the future relevance of major award shows intensified. Commentators questioned whether the Grammys, long positioned as the ultimate benchmark of musical achievement, are gradually losing their gravitational pull over artists who have already secured cultural permanence. Swift's absence became the primary reference point in these debates, cited as evidence of a shifting balance of power between institutions and individuals. Veteran producers and executives privately acknowledged that moments like this force the industry to confront uncomfortable realities. The traditional ecosystem, release cycles, award campaigns, red carpets, and televised ceremonies was built for an era when exposure was scarce. In contrast, artists like Swift operate in a landscape where attention is constant and self-generated. Choosing not to attend is no longer an act of defiance. It is an exercise of leverage. There is also a generational element at play. Younger audiences, particularly those who follow Swift across digital platforms, did not interpret her absence as disengagement. Instead, many viewed it as alignment with evolving values around mental health, personal boundaries, and intentional living. In fan-driven spaces, the narrative reframed itself quickly. Skipping the Grammys was not about rejection, but about prioritization. The same framing extended to Travis Kelce. As athletes increasingly navigate crossover fame, endorsements, and entertainment opportunities, Kelce's decision to remain out of the spotlight reinforced the perception that not every high-profile event requires attendance. For observers, the couple's synchronized absence suggested long-term thinking, a recognition that sustainability, rather than constant visibility, defines modern success. Advertising analysts also took note. Brands associated with the broadcast experienced typical engagement levels, but social listening data showed disproportionate attention clustered around Swift-related keywords. This imbalance highlighted a new media paradox. The most valuable narratives are no longer confined to what is officially programmed. Instead, they emerge organically, often from what is missing rather than what is presented. Within the Recording Academy itself, sources described the reaction as cautious rather than defensive. While no formal response was issued, insiders reportedly understand that Swift's decision was not an indictment of the institution. Still, her absence served as a reminder that even the most established platforms must continuously renegotiate their relevance in an evolving cultural economy. As time passed, the story began to settle into a broader interpretation. It was no longer just about Taylor Swift or Travis Kelce, nor even about the Grammys. It became emblematic of a larger transition, a moment where public figures increasingly assert control over how, when, and why they appear. Visibility, once assumed to be inherently beneficial, is now treated as a finite resource to be allocated with precision. In retrospect, the most striking aspect of the 2026 Grammy Awards may not be any performance, speech, or win, but the quiet space where two of the most recognizable figures in entertainment could have been. That space became a canvas onto which audiences projected their assumptions, hopes, and anxieties about fame, validation, and autonomy. By choosing absence without explanation, Swift and Kelce allowed the event to reveal something about itself. The ceremony continued, the trophies were handed out, and the music was celebrated. Yet the lingering question remained not about who won, but about who chose not to play the game at all. As anticipation builds for Taylor Swift's next move, whatever form it may take, one conclusion has become difficult to dispute. Her influence no longer depends on attendance, approval, or applause within a single night. The Grammy Awards of 2026 will be remembered not only for what was honored, but for the moment it became clear that the most powerful statement can sometimes be made by simply not showing up. That realization has continued to echo across entertainment coverage long after the final Grammy envelope was opened. Retrospective pieces published in the days that followed increasingly framed the 2026 ceremony as a turning point, not because of any controversy on stage, but because of what the night revealed about shifting power dynamics. Taylor Swift's absence became shorthand for a broader recalibration underway in global pop culture. Historically, award ceremonies have functioned as moments of convergence, places where industry, media, and audience attention briefly align. For decades, attendance was treated as both obligation and opportunity. Yet Swift's decision disrupted that logic. By opting out without explanation, she demonstrated that cultural gravity no longer flows in only one direction. The event needed her presence more than she needed the event. Music historians have begun comparing this moment to earlier inflection points in entertainment history, when dominant figures subtly changed the rules by refusing to participate in expected rituals. Unlike past examples marked by open rebellion or public critique, Swift's move was notable for its restraint. There was no manifesto, no interview, no social media post. The message was conveyed entirely through absence, allowing interpretation to evolve organically. International media coverage amplified this effect. Outlets across Europe, Asia, and Latin America highlighted the story not as celebrity gossip, but as a reflection of modern fame. In many regions, headlines focused less on speculation and more on analysis, framing the situation as evidence that the traditional markers of success are being renegotiated by those who have already achieved them. Meanwhile, fan-driven narratives continued to mature. Online forums and discussion threads shifted from initial surprise to longer-form conversations about longevity, agency, and creative freedom. For many, Swift's absence resonated precisely because it felt earned. After years of visibility, constant output, and public engagement, the choice to step back read not as detachment but as evolution. Travis Kelce's continued silence further reinforced this interpretation. As an athlete accustomed to public scrutiny and performance-based judgment, Kelce's decision to remain out of the spotlight alongside Swift was seen as complementary rather than secondary. Analysts noted that the story avoided the familiar trap of framing one partner as an accessory to the other. Instead, it highlighted two individuals making parallel choices at pivotal moments in their respective careers. From a media economics perspective, the episode also exposed changing incentives. Traditional broadcast metrics remain important, but digital engagement increasingly defines relevance. In that arena, Swift's absence proved extraordinarily productive. Articles, videos, and commentary dissecting her non-appearance generated sustained traffic well beyond the event itself, effectively extending the Grammy conversation without any direct participation from her. Within industry circles, the question has quietly shifted from "why didn't she attend?" to "what does this mean for the future?" If top-tier artists selectively disengage from award shows, institutions may need to adapt by redefining their value proposition. Exclusivity, once enforced by limited access, now depends on mutual relevance. Yet for all the analysis, one key element remains unchanged. Taylor Swift has offered no clarification. That silence continues to shape the narrative, preserving ambiguity and preventing closure. In a media environment that thrives on instant answers, the lack of resolution has become its own form of control. As the calendar moves forward, anticipation surrounding Swift's next public appearance, or deliberate non-appearance, continues to build. Whether she returns to the Grammy stage in future years or further distances herself from traditional ceremonies, the events of 2026 have already altered expectations. Attendance is no longer assumed, and absence is no longer dismissed. In hindsight, the 2026 Grammy Awards may be remembered less for the artists who walked the red carpet and more for the space left empty by those who did not. That space invited reflection, challenged assumptions, and underscored a central truth of contemporary celebrity culture. Relevance is no longer measured solely by visibility, and sometimes the most enduring impact is made without ever stepping into the spotlight. That empty spotlight has continued to function as a reference point in subsequent industry conversations. In interviews unrelated to the Grammys, several artists were asked indirectly about Swift's absence, and while most avoided explicit commentary, their responses hinted at a shared understanding. The rules have changed. Attendance is no longer synonymous with respect, and absence is no longer a risk reserved only for those with something to lose. Academic observers of media culture have also weighed in, noting that Swift's decision aligns with a broader decoupling of fame from ritual. In earlier eras, ritual appearances, award shows, premieres, televised events were necessary to maintain relevance. Today, relevance is sustained through narrative continuity, audience loyalty, and control over timing. Swift, whose career has been defined by narrative precision, appears to be applying the same discipline to her public presence. The Grammys themselves proceeded as planned, delivering performances, speeches, and moments designed to dominate headlines. Yet, even the most celebrated highlights were frequently contextualized against what was missing. Review pieces assessing the success of the ceremony repeatedly returned to the same observation. Despite a full program, the night felt incomplete to many viewers. This perception was not rooted in disappointment, but in awareness of how central Swift has become to the cultural imagination. In the days following the broadcast, entertainment news cycles typically move on quickly. This time, however, the story demonstrated unusual longevity. Rather than fading, it evolved. Initial articles focused on absence. Later pieces examined implications. By the end of the week, the conversation had broadened into a reassessment of celebrity participation itself. Swift and Kelce were no longer the sole subjects. They had become symbols within a larger discourse. From a strategic standpoint, analysts emphasized how rare it is for a non-event to generate sustained momentum without reinforcement. There were no follow-up appearances, no statements, no visual material to refresh attention. Yet interest persisted. This endurance suggested that audiences were responding not to novelty, but to meaning. The absence resonated because it aligned with underlying shifts in how success, autonomy, and fulfillment are publicly negotiated. Travis Kelce's position within this narrative continued to gain definition over time. While initially framed as accompanying Swift's choice, later analysis recognized his agency more clearly. As professional athletes increasingly explore identities beyond sport, Kelce's selective visibility signaled an awareness of the long-term implications of overexposure. In that sense, his absence mirrored Swift's, not as a gesture of retreat, but as an assertion of pacing. International broadcasters covering the Grammys offered additional perspective. In several markets, commentary focused less on speculation and more on interpretation, presenting the absence as reflective of Western celebrity saturation. In these analyses, Swift's choice was framed as a response to a hypervisible culture rather than a rejection of any single institution. Notably, the story did not generate backlash. There was no widespread narrative of disrespect toward the Grammys, nor accusations of elitism. Instead, public sentiment remained largely neutral to positive. This response itself was revealing. It suggested that audiences are increasingly comfortable with figures opting out of expected performances, so long as the choice appears coherent and consistent with their broader trajectory. As award season concluded and attention shifted elsewhere, references to the 2026 Grammys continued to surface in retrospective discussions. In each instance, the absence of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce was cited as a defining feature, not because it disrupted the event, but because it reframed it. The ceremony was no longer the unquestioned center of gravity it once was. Ultimately, the story's enduring power lies in its restraint. There was no confrontation, no explanation, and no attempt to shape interpretation. By leaving space for analysis rather than filling it with narrative, Swift and Kelce allowed the moment to mature organically. In doing so, they demonstrated a form of influence that operates beyond presence, beyond performance, and beyond applause. As the entertainment industry continues to evolve, the 2026 Grammy Awards will likely be remembered as a subtle milestone. Not a rupture, but a signal. A quiet indication that the most powerful figures no longer need to participate in every ritual to remain central to the conversation. Sometimes, stepping away is not an absence at all, but a repositioning, one that speaks clearly precisely because it says nothing. The longer the silence lasted, the clearer its impact became. Weeks after the ceremony, the 2026 Grammy Awards were still being discussed through the lens of who did not attend rather than who did. Editorials revisiting the event often opened with a familiar line: Taylor Swift was absent, yet everywhere. That paradox came to define the cultural memory of the night. Industry veterans have since described the moment as a stress test for legacy institutions. Award shows have traditionally relied on star power to validate their relevance. Swift's absence quietly reversed that equation. The conversation did not ask whether she needed the Grammys, but whether the Grammys could fully command attention without her. The answer, judging by engagement metrics and post-event discourse, appeared complicated at best. Within the music business, the episode sparked internal reflection. Award campaigns are costly, time-consuming, and emotionally demanding. For emerging artists, the exposure can be career-defining. For established figures like Swift, however, the cost-benefit balance looks different. Several executives, speaking anonymously, acknowledged that her decision may embolden other top-tier artists to reassess their own participation in future ceremonies. The cultural framing of success has also shifted noticeably. In earlier decades, absence from a major awards show often signaled decline, controversy, or irrelevance. In Swift's case, none of those narratives took hold. Instead, her absence was interpreted as confidence. The confidence of someone who has outgrown the need for constant public affirmation. That interpretation gained traction precisely because it aligned with her long-term career arc. Travis Kelce's continued lack of comment reinforced the same theme. In a media environment that rewards instant reaction, silence requires discipline. For Kelce, whose profile extends beyond sports into entertainment and branding, the decision not to engage publicly suggested a calculated restraint. Analysts noted that this restraint protected both individuals from being drawn into a reactive news cycle that could have diluted the significance of the choice. As the months progressed, the absence began to be referenced in unrelated cultural conversations. Discussions about burnout, overexposure, and the pressure of perpetual visibility increasingly cited Swift as an example of intentional withdrawal. While she herself offered no commentary, her decision resonated with broader anxieties about sustainability in high-performance careers. The Recording Academy, for its part, has shown no public concern. Planning for future ceremonies continued as usual, though insiders concede that the question of attendance can no longer be taken for granted. The implicit assumption that the biggest stars will always show up has been weakened. Attendance, once expected, now appears negotiable. Media theorists have highlighted the symbolic timing of the moment. Coming at a point when streaming, social platforms, and direct-to-audience engagement dominate cultural consumption, Swift's absence underscored how power has migrated away from centralized stages. Influence now travels through networks rather than events, through continuity rather than spectacle. Even fashion and branding conversations were affected. The Grammys have long been a showcase for visual moments, dresses, appearances, viral clips. Swift's absence removed a predictable focal point, forcing coverage to adapt. Some commentators noted that this shift exposed how dependent such events have become on a small number of recurring figures to generate buzz. Yet despite all the analysis, one aspect remains unresolved and perhaps intentionally so. Swift has not framed the narrative. There is no quote to reference, no explanation to dissect. That lack of closure has preserved the story's relevance, allowing it to be revisited and reinterpreted over time. In a culture accustomed to instant clarification, the refusal to explain has become its own form of authorship. Looking back, the 2026 Grammy Awards did not lose significance because Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were absent. Instead, the meaning of significance itself shifted. The night revealed that cultural authority is no longer anchored solely to attendance or endorsement. It can exist independently, carried by reputation, history, and the ability to choose when not to appear. As future award seasons approach, the shadow of that decision remains. Whether Swift returns to the Grammy stage or continues to operate outside its orbit, her absence in 2026 has already entered the historical record as a defining moment. Not dramatic, not confrontational, but quietly transformative. In the end, the story is less about a skipped ceremony and more about a redefined relationship between artists and institutions. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce did not challenge the Grammys directly. They simply stepped aside. And in doing so, they demonstrated that in modern celebrity culture, sometimes the most powerful presence is felt precisely where no one is standing.